The stars looked different from the Sol orbital station. Admiral Jiwoo stood at the observation deck, watching the distant lights of human colonies scattered across 47 star systems. It had taken humanity 200 years to reach this far into space, and they had done it alone. No one else was out there. At least that's what everyone believed until today. The alarm started at 0600 hours. Jiwoo rushed to the command center where dozens of screens showed the impossible. Ships. Alien ships. They appeared from nowhere, their dark hulls reflecting the light of Earth's sun. There were 12 of them, arranged in a perfect formation that spoke of military precision. "Unknown vessels, this is Sol Orbital Command," Jiwoo said into the communication system. "Identify yourselves immediately." The response came in perfect Korean. The voice was strange, like metal scraping against glass, but the words were clear. "Greetings, primitive species. We are the Velcrin Collective. We come in peace to welcome you to the galactic community." Primitive. The word hung in the air like an insult. Jiwoo felt her jaw tighten. She had commanded fleets, fought pirates in the outer colonies, and helped terraform 3 planets. Primitive was not a word anyone used to describe humanity anymore. "This is Admiral Jiwoo of the Earth Defense Force. You will maintain your current position while we establish proper diplomatic protocols." There was a pause. Then the alien voice returned, sounding almost amused. "Admiral, you misunderstand your position. We have scanned your systems. Your technology is adequate for your development stage, but you are clearly in need of guidance. The Galactic Assembly will provide protection and education. In return, you will join as a protectorate species." Below the station, Earth's defensive grid hummed to life. Dr. Hana, the station's chief science officer, appeared on Jiwoo's private screen. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. "Admiral, I've analyzed their ship," Hana said quietly. "Their weapons are powerful, but the technology is old. Very old. Our shields could handle their full assault easily." "Are you certain?" Jiwoo asked. "Completely. Their faster-than-light drives are using principles we abandoned 60 years ago. It's like they stopped developing and just stayed the same." Jiwoo looked at the alien ships again. They were impressive in size, but Hana was right. There was something strangely outdated about their design. She made a decision. "Unknown vessels, we appreciate your offer, but Earth does not need protection. We are willing to establish diplomatic relations as equals." The response was immediate and cold. "You do not understand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. All species must join the assembly. Those who refuse face consequences." One of the alien ships broke formation. It moved toward the orbital station, and its weapons began to glow with a sickly green light. Jiwoo had seen weapons charge before. This was a threat. "Target locked on us," Commander Taehyun reported from the weapons station. "They're powering up what looks like a plasma cannon." "Return targeting," Jiwoo ordered. "But do not fire unless I give the command." The alien ship fired. A massive bolt of green energy shot toward the station. Every human in the command center held their breath. The blast hit the shields and simply disappeared. The station's defensive grid absorbed the attack like a sponge soaking up water. There wasn't even a flicker in the power systems. Silence fell over the communication channel. Jiwoo could almost feel the confusion from the alien ships. They had just fired what they probably thought was an overwhelming attack, and it had done absolutely nothing. "Unknown vessels," Jiwoo said calmly. "That was an act of war. You have one chance to stand down and explain yourselves." The alien voice returned, but this time it sounded uncertain. "Impossible. That weapon should have disabled your shields completely. How did you?" "Our shields operate on principles you apparently don't understand," Dr. Hana interrupted, her voice broadcast on all channels. "Your plasma cannon uses a focused particle stream. Our shields don't just block energy, they convert and redistribute it. You basically just gave us enough power to run this station for a week." More silence. Then the alien ships began to move backward, retreating to a safer distance. A new voice came over the channel, deeper and more measured than the first. "I am Ambassador Threxaval of the Velcrin Collective. It appears we have made incorrect assumptions about your species. We request permission to dock and begin proper first contact procedures." Jiwoo nodded to Taehyun, who began preparations for receiving guests, but she kept her weapons targeted on the alien ships. Trust had to be earned, and these visitors had started by calling them primitive and firing on them. The meeting took place in Conference Room 7, a large space with windows looking out at Earth below. Ambassador Threxaval was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. His three eyes moved independently, taking in every detail of the room. "Your furniture is quite comfortable," Threxval said, settling into a chair designed for human bodies. It clearly wasn't made for him, but he managed. "I must apologize for our initial approach. The Velkrin have performed first contact procedures for 3,000 years. This is the first time we have encountered a species that could resist our demonstration of power." "Demonstration?" Jiwoo kept her voice level, but inside she was furious. "You fired on us. A standard practice," Threxval explained. "We show force, new species recognize their position. Everyone joins the assembly peacefully. But your shields, your technology, it should not exist at your development level." Dr. Hana leaned forward. "And what exactly is our development level supposed to be?" Threxval pulled out a device that projected a holographic chart into the air. It showed hundreds of species arranged in levels like a ladder. Near the bottom was a blinking dot labeled humanity. "According to our scans of your homeworld's geological record, your species achieved spaceflight approximately 400 years ago. Species at that stage typically have basic kinetic weapons, simple fusion drives, and shields that can handle natural radiation. You should be here." He pointed to the bottom level. "But our actual technology?" Hana asked. Threxval moved his finger up the chart, past dozens of species until he reached the top 5 levels. "Your faster-than-light drives are here. Your weapons are here. Your shields are... Actually, they are beyond our chart entirely. We have never seen anything like them." The room fell quiet. Jiwoo, Hana, and Taehyun exchanged glances. They had always assumed humanity's rapid technological growth was normal. They had no one to compare themselves to. But now, looking at that chart, seeing hundreds of species that developed over thousands of years to reach levels humanity had surpassed in a few centuries, the truth became clear. Humanity was not normal, not even close. "Ambassador," Jiwoo said slowly, "perhaps we should discuss this further. We have many questions about this galactic assembly of yours." "Of course," Threxval agreed, but his eyes showed something new now. Not contempt or amusement, fear. "Though I should warn you, Admiral, the Assembly will want to know about your species immediately, and when they see what you have achieved in such a short time, they will have many questions too." After the meeting ended and the Velkrin returned to their ships, Jiwoo stood again at the observation deck. Earth turned slowly below, beautiful and blue and completely unaware that everything had just changed. Commander Taehyun joined her, holding a data pad. "The Velkrin have sent a message back to their homeworld. We intercepted it. Should I translate?" "Go ahead." Taehyun read from the screen, his voice quiet. "It says emergency. Recommend immediate strategic assessment. New species designation human, technology level, extreme concern. These beings are not what they appear to be. Request guidance from High Assembly. Repeat, extreme concern." Jiwoo smiled, but it was not a happy expression. Humanity had just met their first alien species, and already those aliens were afraid. She wondered what that meant for the future. She wondered what else was waiting for them out there in the galaxy. Most of all, she wondered why humanity had developed so much faster than everyone else. The answer to that question, she would soon discover, would change everything humanity believed about itself. Captain Yuna had never seen anything like the Galactic Assembly Central Station. It floated in space between 6 stars, a massive structure that looked like a wheel made of crystal and metal. Hundreds of ships came and went from its docking ports, carrying representatives from species she had never imagined existed. "It's beautiful," she whispered to her co-pilot, Lieutenant Bora. "It's also pointing every weapon they have at us," Bora replied, checking the scanner readings. 17 different targeting systems are locked on our ship. Yuna wasn't surprised. In the 3 months since first contact, humanity's relationship with the Galactic Assembly had been tense. The Velkrin had reported everything about Earth's unusual technology, and now the Assembly wanted to see these strange humans for themselves. The docking procedure took an hour. Security protocols required them to pass through 6 different checkpoints, each one staffed by guards from different species. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Yuna couldn't tell where their heads ended and their bodies began. Finally, they entered the main diplomatic hall. It was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into artificial clouds. Thousands of seats arranged in circular tiers faced a central platform, where the assembly leaders sat. Every seat was filled. Every eye was watching the human delegation. Yuna walked forward, trying to look confident. Behind her came Ambassador Minho, Dr. Hana, and Commander Tae-hyun. They were the first humans most of these aliens had ever seen, and the weight of that responsibility felt heavy on Yuna's shoulders. An old creature that looked like a floating jellyfish with too many tentacles approached them. Its skin was translucent, showing organs that pulsed with purple light. "I am Senior Archivist Velmoth," it said through a translation device. "I have served the Assembly for 300 years. In all that time, I have never seen them call an emergency session like this. You humans have caused quite a disturbance." "We didn't mean to cause any problems," Minho said diplomatically. "We only want to understand our place in the galaxy." "Your place," Velmoth repeated slowly. "Yes, that is exactly what troubles her. Everyone. Come, there is something you must see before the Assembly meets with you." The archivist led them through a maze of corridors until they reached a secure vault deep inside the station. The door was covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when Yuna looked at them directly. "These archives contain the history of the galaxy," Velmoth explained. "Billions of years of records. But there is one section we have kept hidden from most species. It is too dangerous, too frightening. However, after seeing your technology, the Assembly Council has decided you must know the truth." The vault opened. Inside was a single chamber with walls made of some kind of living metal. In the center floated a holographic display showing a spiral galaxy, their galaxy, but from millions of years ago. "Long before any of our civilizations existed," Velmoth began, "the galaxy was ruled by a single species. We call them the Precursors. They were the first to achieve faster-than-light travel, the first to harness the power of stars, the first to reshape worlds to their will. They were, in every way, the ultimate force in the galaxy. The hologram showed cities that spanned entire planets, ships the size of moons, and structures that connected solar systems like roads. They were gods," Velmoth continued. "But they were also terrible. They fought wars that destroyed whole civilizations. They created and destroyed species for their amusement. For 10 million years they ruled with absolute power, and the galaxy burned under their might." Dr. Hana stared at the images, her scientific mind analyzing every detail. "What happened to them?" "They vanished," Velmoth said simply. "One day they were everywhere. The next they were gone. They left behind ruins and technology we still cannot fully understand. Most importantly, they left behind us." "Us?" Tae-hyun asked. The hologram changed, showing hundreds of different species. Yuna recognized some of them from the assembly hall, the jellyfish-like archivists, the blue-skinned Velkrin, dozens of others. "Every intelligent species in this galaxy was created by the Precursors," Velmoth explained. "They took primitive life forms and accelerated their evolution. They made us intelligent, gave us language, gave us culture. We are all their children in a sense, or perhaps their toys. We never knew which." The weight of this revelation settled over the human delegation like a physical thing. Minho found his voice first. "Why are you telling us this?" Velmoth's tentacles trembled. "Because of this." The hologram changed again. This time it showed a DNA strand rotating slowly in the air. Next to it appeared another strand. They were identical. "On the left is a genetic sample from precursor ruins," Velmoth said quietly. "On the right is the genetic code of humanity. You are not like us, created and modified species. You are them. You are the precursors." The room spun around Yuna. It was impossible. Humans had evolved on Earth. They had fossil records going back millions of years. They had. "Your fossil records show a species that should have taken another million years to achieve intelligence," Velmoth said, as if reading her thoughts. "Instead, you jumped forward in a mere 200,000 years. This is because you carry the genetic markers of the precursors. You are not a new species. You are the old masters returned." Dr. Hana shook her head violently. "No, that's impossible." "We have no memory of any of this. We know our history. We evolved on Earth naturally, did you?" Velmoth brought up more images. They showed human artifacts that archaeologists had always found puzzling. Structures that seemed too advanced for their time. Knowledge that appeared from nowhere in ancient civilizations. Or did you forget? Perhaps intentionally? Minho stepped closer to the hologram. His hands were shaking. "Are you saying humanity deliberately erased its own history?" "We believe the precursors became horrified by what they had done," Velmoth explained. "The wars, the destruction, the countless species they had wiped out. So they did something unprecedented. They locked away their own memories, reset their civilization, and started again on a single world. They wanted to see if they could become something better. Earth, Yuna whispered. Earth, Velmoth confirmed. A perfect world isolated in a quiet arm of the galaxy. The precursors regressed themselves back to a primitive state and let evolution shape them again. But they kept certain genetic advantages that now make you the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy once more, even though you achieved spaceflight only 400 years ago. Taehyun had been quiet, but now he spoke up. If this is true, if we really are these precursors, why can't we access any of their technology? We've explored ruins on other worlds. Our scanners find nothing but empty structures. Velmoth's organs pulsed faster. That is because precursor technology is genetically locked. Only those with precursor DNA can activate it. For millions of years, we thought these locks meant the technology was dead forever. But now you are here, and everything changes. The archivist gestured, and the vault's walls lit up with new images. They showed locations scattered across the galaxy, hundreds of them, thousands. These are confirmed precursor sites, Velmoth said. Facilities, weapons, ships, structures we cannot even identify. All of them waiting for the right genetic code to wake them up. Your genetic code. The implications hit Yuna like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't just advanced. Humanity had the keys to an entire galactic empire's worth of technology, just waiting to be claimed. The Assembly is terrified, Velmoth continued. They debate even now whether to welcome you or try to eliminate you before you can access your inheritance. Every species in this galaxy was created to serve the precursors. What happens when the masters return? Minho's diplomatic training finally reasserted itself. We are not masters. We are explorers, diplomats. Yes, our technology developed quickly, but we have no interest in ruling anyone. That is what you say now, Velmoth replied. But what happens when you access a precursor facility? When you remember what you once were? When you realize that every species here, including mine, exists only because your ancestors willed it. Power changes people, Ambassador. Absolute power changes them absolutely. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed along the walls. Velmoth's tentacles went rigid with shock. What's happening? Yuna demanded. An announcement echoed through the translation system, speaking in dozens of languages simultaneously. Emergency alert. Ancient Defense Station Delta 9 has activated in Sector 447. It is broadcasting a message across all frequencies. The message reads, "The inheritors have returned. Activating primary protocols. All systems coming online." Velmoth turned to the humans, and for the first time, Yuna saw pure fear in the alien's expression. It has begun. The precursor systems are detecting your presence. They are waking up. On screens throughout the vault, images appeared from across the galaxy. Ancient structures were powering up. Ships buried for millions of years were rising from dead worlds. Weapons platforms in deep space were targeting nearby civilizations. You need to stop this, Velmoth said urgently. If the precursor defenses fully activate, they will eliminate anything they perceive as a threat to humanity. That means every other species in the galaxy. Commander Hyun watched the incoming attack fleet on his tactical display and knew they were in serious trouble. 73 ships bearing the mark of something called the Sovereignty League were heading straight for Earth. Their message had been clear and brutal. Humanity must be destroyed before they could reclaim their ancient power. Time to engagement? Hyun asked his weapons officer. 16 minutes, Lieutenant Kwan replied. Her voice was steady, but Hyun could see the tension in her shoulders. They're not slowing down. This is a full assault. Admiral Jiwoo's face appeared on the command screen from Seoul Orbital Station. Commander, I want you to understand something. We did not start this fight, but we will end it if we must. Earth Defense Fleet is authorized to use all necessary force. Understood, Admiral. Hyun switched channels to address his entire fleet. 27 Earth ships, all that could be assembled in the 2 weeks since the precursor revelation had shaken the galaxy. All vessels, this is Commander Hyun, battle stations. Shields to maximum. Weapons free on my mark. The Sovereignty League fleet entered weapons range. They opened fire immediately. Thousands of missiles and energy beams crossing the dark space between them. Hyun had read the reports about their technology. These were some of the most advanced military ships the younger galactic species had built. Their weapons could crack planets, The attack hit Earth's defensive fleet like a storm. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. Alarms screamed. And then nothing. The shields held. Every single shot was absorbed or deflected. Not one Earth ship took damage. Return fire. Hyan ordered calmly. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The Earth ships fired and the Sovereignty League fleet simply came apart. Human weapons had been designed without knowing there was anyone else in the galaxy. They had been built to handle the worst scenarios humanity could imagine. Against ships designed for the careful, balanced warfare of the Galactic Assembly, they were devastating. In 3 minutes, half the Sovereignty League fleet was disabled. In 5 minutes, the survivors were retreating. In 7 minutes, it was over. Hyan stared at his display in shock. They had just won a battle against overwhelming numbers without taking a single casualty. The tactical part of his mind understood why. Human weapons targeted multiple points simultaneously, overloading enemy shields in ways the League had never encountered. Human ships moved with acceleration that should have killed their crews. Protected by gravity compensation systems the galaxy had deemed impossible, but understanding why didn't make it less terrifying. "Sir," Quan said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the Sovereignty League flagship. They're surrendering." On the view screen, an alien commander appeared. It had 4 arms and skin like cracked stone. It looked directly at Hyan with eyes full of fear. "We yield," it said simply. "We came to stop you from becoming the masters again. Instead, we have proven that you already are. Do with us as you will." Hyan felt sick. "We don't want to be your masters. We just wanted to defend our home." "Then you are more merciful than your ancestors," the alien replied. "But mercy from a position of absolute power is still domination. You could destroy us all and we could not stop you. That is what terrifies the galaxy." The transmission ended. Hyan sat back in his command chair and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, Engineer Isul was having a very different kind of problem. She had been studying ancient star charts recovered from a precursor ruin when her analysis computer started behaving strangely. It was showing her patterns that shouldn't exist, connections between star systems that made no sense. "Dr. Hana, you need to see this," Isul called across the research lab. Hana hurried over, still exhausted from the confrontation at the Galactic Assembly. "What am I looking at?" "I'm not sure," Isul admitted. "I ran the star charts through our standard analysis program, but something in the data triggered a response. Look at this." She pointed to the screen where a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy was rotating. Certain stars were highlighted in gold. "These stars form a pattern. It's deliberate, artificial. Someone arranged them this way." "That's impossible," Hana said. "You can't move stars." "Precursors could," Isul reminded her. "And look where the pattern leads." The map zoomed in on a single point in space. The coordinates appeared on the screen, along with a name that the computer had pulled from the precursor database: Sanctum Prime. "What is Sanctum Prime?" Hana asked. "I don't know," Isul said. "But according to these charts, it's big. Really big. And whatever it is, the precursors wanted to make sure it could be found." Hana made a decision. "We need to go there. Get me a ship and a crew. We're leaving immediately." "Are you sure that's wise?" Isul asked. "Every time we touch precursor technology, something bad happens. Something bad is already happening," Hana replied. "The galaxy is tearing itself apart over us. Maybe Sanctum Prime has answers. Maybe it can help us stop this before there's an actual war." While Hana and Isul prepared for their expedition, Ambassador Minho was fighting a different kind of battle in the Galactic Assembly. The chamber was in chaos. Species were shouting at each other in dozens of languages. Some wanted to attack Earth immediately. Others wanted to submit to humanity's rule. A few radical groups were proposing mass suicide rather than live under precursor domination again. Minho stood at the central platform, waiting for a chance to speak. Finally, the assembly chairman, a being that looked like a living crystal, called for order. "The human ambassador wishes to address the assembly," it announced. Minho stepped forward. Every eye in the massive chamber focused on him. The weight of their attention was crushing, but he forced himself to speak clearly. "Members of the Galactic Assembly, I understand your fear. We have learned what our ancestors did, the terror they caused. But we are not them. We have no memory of those times, no desire to repeat their mistakes. We came to the stars seeking friendship, not conquest. Yet you conquered the Sovereignty League in minutes, someone shouted from the crowd. We defended ourselves, Minho corrected. They attacked our home. Would you expect us to simply let our people die? You could have shown mercy, another voice called. You could have disabled their ships without destroying them. We did, Minho replied. Check the casualty reports. The Sovereignty League has fewer than 100 dead. We disabled their ships and let them retreat. If we wanted conquest, they would all be gone. This caused a murmur through the chamber. Archivist Velmoth floated forward to speak. The ambassador makes a fair point. The precursors of old would have eliminated the entire fleet and then destroyed the Sovereignty League's homeworlds as a lesson. These humans showed remarkable restraint. Restraint means nothing when they can access precursor facilities, a Velkrin representative argued. Once they activate those ancient weapons, restraint will be forgotten. Then help us understand what we're dealing with, Minho said desperately. We didn't ask for this legacy. We don't want to be gods or masters. We just want to live in peace. But if you treat us as enemies, if you attack us out of fear, you will create the very thing you're afraid of. The chamber fell silent. The crystal chairman spoke in a voice like wind chimes. What do you propose, Ambassador? Minho took a deep breath. A partnership. You know, the history, the dangers, the ancient technologies. We have the genetic keys to access them. Together, we can explore the precursor legacy safely. We can learn from their mistakes. We can build something better than what came before. And if your people decide they prefer power to partnership, the chairman asked, then we'll deal with that when it happens, Minho said honestly. But right now we're offering cooperation. The alternative is war, and I think we've all seen how that would end. The truth of his words hung in the air. The Sovereignty League's defeat had shown everyone the reality. In a straight fight, humanity would win. The only question was whether the galaxy would accept peace or choose mutual destruction. Before the Assembly could vote on Minho's proposal, alarms started ringing again. This time the announcement was even worse than before. Emergency. Defense Station Delta 9 has locked weapons on the Galactic Assembly Central Station. Estimated time to firing 10 minutes. Message from the station. Release the inheritors immediately or face elimination. Panic erupted. Species began evacuating, rushing for their ships. Minho stood frozen, realizing the terrible truth. The precursor systems weren't just waking up. They were actively protecting humanity, whether humans wanted them to or not. We need to get you to safety, Velmoth said, grabbing Minho with several tentacles. No, Minho said firmly. If I run, it proves we can't control this. Get me to a communications terminal. I need to try to talk to that station. You can't talk to it, Velmoth protested. It's not alive. It's an automated system. It's a precursor system, Minho corrected, which means it should respond to precursor DNA. Get me to that terminal. Now. Velmoth hesitated, then led Minho to a secure communications room. Minho placed his hand on the console and immediately felt something strange. It was like the machine recognized him, welcomed him. Information flooded into his mind, too fast to fully understand. He opened his mouth and spoke, but the words that came out were not his own. Dr. Hana stood at the entrance to Sanctum Prime and felt very small. The structure was beyond anything she had imagined. It wasn't just a space station or even a megastructure. It was a ring that circled an entire star, large enough to hold 1,000 Earths inside it. The surface glowed with lights that had been waiting millions of years to turn on again. We shouldn't be here, Engineer Isul said beside her. Her voice was barely a whisper. This place feels wrong. It feels powerful, Hana corrected. She placed her hand on the entrance panel, and like with Minho in the defense station, something inside her recognized what to do. The massive doors opened without sound, revealing corridors that stretched into infinity. The team entered carefully. Scientists, soldiers, and diplomats, all chosen because they represented the best of humanity, all terrified of what they might find. The interior of Sanctum Prime was pristine, as if the precursors had left yesterday instead of millions of years ago. Holographic displays activated as the humans passed, showing images and information that made no sense. Gradually, as they moved deeper into the structure, the information began to reorganize itself. It was adapting to human brains, translating itself into something they could understand. It's a library, Hana realized. The entire ring is a database, the complete history of the precursors. They reached a central chamber where a massive holographic display dominated the space. When Hana approached it, the display activated automatically and a figure appeared. It looked human or close enough. Tall, strong, with eyes that held both wisdom and terrible sadness. "If you are seeing this," the figure said in perfect Korean, "then you have returned. Welcome home, children of Earth. Welcome back, precursors." The team stood in stunned silence as the hologram continued. "I am Architect Kalen, one of the last of our kind to retain memory before the Great Regression. This message is for you, our future selves, so that you might understand what we did and why." The hologram gestured and the entire chamber filled with images. They showed the precursors at the height of their power. Cities that spanned galaxies, technology that bent reality itself, and war, endless terrible war. "We thought ourselves gods," Kalen said. "We created life, destroyed it, reshaped it as we pleased. But power without wisdom is a curse. We fought among ourselves for reasons we cannot even remember now. Entire civilizations, billions of innocent beings died because of our pride. The images showed destruction on a scale that made Hana feel sick. Planets burning, species going extinct. The precursors in their arrogance had almost destroyed the galaxy itself. 3 civilizations existed before us," Kalen continued. "Ancient peoples with their own histories, their own dreams. We killed them all, accidentally at first, then deliberately when they tried to resist our expansion. By the time we realized what we had become, it was too late. We were monsters." The hologram's face showed such grief that Hana found tears running down her own cheeks. "So we made a choice. We could not undo what we had done, but we could prevent it from happening again. We created you." The hologram gestured to the images of the younger galactic species. "We took primitive life and guided its evolution. We gave them intelligence, culture, technology, but we limited them. We built genetic locks into their very existence, preventing them from accessing the most dangerous technologies. We gave them 10 million years to develop, to grow, to learn wisdom before power. And what about us?" Hana found herself asking the hologram, even though she knew it couldn't hear her. "What did you do to us?" As if answering her question, Kalen continued. "As for ourselves, we chose a different path. We regressed. We locked away our memories, our history, even our language. We took ourselves back to the beginning and placed ourselves on a perfect world, Earth. We removed all traces of our civilization from that world and let evolution reshape us naturally. But you kept certain things," Hana whispered, understanding now. "You kept the genetic markers. You kept the intelligence. You kept the ability to rebuild. We wanted to see if we could be better," Kalen said. "If we could develop without the burden of our history, without the pride that destroyed us. We hoped that you, our children, might find a better way. But we also knew the risks. That is why we built this place, Sanctum Prime. Here is the truth. Here is the warning. And here is the choice." The hologram gestured again, and 3 pathways appeared in the air, glowing with different colors. The first path, reclamation. You can activate all precursor systems. Every weapon, every facility, every ship. You will become the ultimate force in the galaxy once more, just as we were. The younger species will have no choice but to submit or die. You will rule, as is your genetic right. The blue pathway showed humanity ascending to godhood, with all other species bowing before them. The second path, destruction. You can destroy all precursor technology, including yourselves. This galaxy was meant for the younger species. Your existence threatens their development. By removing yourselves, you give them the chance we never had, to develop naturally, without gods watching over them. The red pathway showed Earth burning, humanity sacrificing itself for the good of others. The third path, guardianship. You can become what we should have been, protectors instead of rulers, guides instead of gods, but this path requires sacrifice. You must willingly limit yourselves, bind your own power, ensure you can never become what we were. The green pathway showed a more difficult future, one where humanity served rather than ruled. The choice must be made by all of you, Kalen finished. Every human mind linked together, deciding your species' future. We have prepared the systems needed for this choice. When you are ready, they will activate. Choose wisely, our children. Choose better than we did. The hologram faded. Hana stood in the silent chamber, feeling the weight of an impossible decision settle on her shoulders. Back on Earth, General Wu Jin faced his own terrible choice. The precursor defense grid had reached critical activation. In less than 72 hours, it would automatically eliminate all perceived threats to humanity. According to its ancient programming, that meant almost every military installation in the galaxy, every weapons platform, every ship that could potentially harm a human. It would be genocide on an unimaginable scale, all done automatically by systems designed to protect masters who no longer wanted that protection. We could let it happen, his second-in-command, Colonel Nari, said quietly. We didn't build these systems. It's not our fault if they activate. But it would be our responsibility, Wu Jin replied. We have the power to stop it. Minho proved that at the assembly. If we do nothing, billions will die, and it will be our choice to let them. Or we could use it, Nari suggested. Show the galaxy we have this power. Establish absolute authority, then shut it down. Fear would keep everyone peaceful. Wu Jin looked at his old friend with disappointment. Fear is what created the Precursor's empire. Fear is what led to millions of years of suffering. We're supposed to be better than that. Are we, though? Nari challenged. We've been human for less time than the Precursors ruled. Their instincts are in our genes. Maybe we're just fooling ourselves thinking we can be different. Before Wu Jin could respond, Captain Yuna's voice came over the communication system from Sanctum Prime. General, we've found something. You need to see this immediately. The transmission showed the holographic message from Kalen, the 3 pathways, the impossible choice. Wu Jin watched in silence, then made a decision. Send this message to every human in every colony, he ordered. Everyone needs to see this. Everyone needs to understand what we're facing. Sir, if people see this, there will be panic, Nari warned. Good, Wu Jin said. We should panic. This deserves panic. But then we need to decide together what kind of species we want to be. Across human space, the message spread. On Earth, on colony worlds, on ships and stations, every human saw Kalen's warning. They saw what their ancestors had been. They saw what they could become. And they understood that in 72 hours they would have to choose. The debate began immediately. Some wanted power, arguing that humanity should claim their birthright and rule the galaxy as the Precursors once did. Others wanted sacrifice, believing that humanity should destroy itself rather than risk becoming monsters. But most, the vast majority, were drawn to the third path, even though they didn't fully understand what it meant. Diplomat Ji Yun found herself in the center of negotiations with the moderate galactic factions. They were proposing something they called the New Covenant. Humanity would become guardians using their unique abilities to maintain peace, but would voluntarily limit themselves through genetic modification and treaty obligations. You would essentially be police, a reptilian ambassador explained, but police who answer to everyone, not just yourselves. And if we refuse? Jian asked. Then we prepare for war, the ambassador said sadly. A war we cannot win but must fight anyway. Because living under domination is worse than dying free. Jian understood. The galaxy had lived without masters for millions of years. They would not accept new ones no matter how benevolent humanity claimed to be. As the deadline approached, scientist Kyung made a crucial discovery in the Sanctum Prime archives. The third path, guardianship, would fundamentally alter human genetics again. The neural link felt like standing in an ocean of thoughts. Admiral Jiwoo could sense every human consciousness connected to hers. The frightened colonist on a distant world, the soldier preparing for battle, the child asking her parents what was happening, all of them linked together, making the most important decision in human history. The 3 pathways hung before them in the shared mental space. Blue for power, red for sacrifice, green for guardianship. Each one glowed, waiting for humanity's collective choice. Jiwoo felt the pull of the blue path. It would be so easy to take power, to never feel threatened again, but then she felt the memories flowing through the link. The Precursor's victims, the civilizations that burned, the guilt that drove an entire species to erase themselves. Power had not saved them. It had destroyed them. The red path called to others. The guilt of what their ancestors had done was overwhelming. Perhaps humanity didn't deserve to exist, not with this legacy. But then another thought rippled through the connected minds. The younger species of the galaxy had been given a chance by the Precursor's sacrifice. Didn't humanity deserve that same chance? Didn't they deserve to try to be better? The green path was the hardest. It required trust. Trust that humanity could limit itself, could serve instead of rule, could be better than what came before. But as Jiwoo felt the billions of minds around her, she realized something profound. They wanted to be better, not because they had to, because they chose to. The vote moved through the neural link like a wave. Not everyone agreed. Some held firm to power or sacrifice, but the vast majority chose green. They chose guardianship. The moment the decision locked in, everything changed. In the command center on Sol Orbital Station, Commander Heon watched in awe as the precursor defense grid transformed. The ancient weapons platforms didn't shut down. Instead, they reconfigured themselves. Weapon systems became sensor arrays. Targeting computers became communication relays. The entire network shifted from instruments of war to tools of protection. At the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Minho felt the change in his own body. The aggressive edge that had lurked in his genes, the predatory instinct that made precursors such effective conquerors, was fading. Not disappearing completely, but softening, becoming something else, something kinder. It's working, Archivist Velmoth whispered in awe. You're actually doing it. You're changing yourselves by choice. On Sanctum Prime, Dr. Hanna and Engineer Isel watched as the massive ring structure reconfigured. Weapon manufacturing facilities became research laboratories. Military databases became educational archives. The tools of conquest transformed into instruments of knowledge. But the most dramatic change happened on Earth itself. General Wu Jin stood at the Planetary Defense Headquarters. As systems across the world began transforming, every military installation, every weapon, every defensive system was being rebuilt by the precursor technology in humanity's genes. But they weren't becoming stronger. They were becoming smarter, more precise, more capable of protecting without destroying. Status report, Wu Jin ordered. Colonel Nari read from her display, her voice filled with wonder. Sir, the defense grid is expanding. It's not just protecting Earth anymore. It's creating a network that will cover the entire galaxy. But the protocols are different. Instead of eliminating threats, it's designed to disable them, to stop conflicts before they start, to give species time to talk instead of fight. Wu Jin smiled. We're not building an empire. We're building a safety net. And it's permanent, Nari added. The genetic changes, the system transformations, they're all locked in. Even if future generations wanted to reverse this choice, they couldn't. We've bound ourselves forever. Good, Wu Jin said simply. That's exactly what we need. The Sovereignty League, watching from their damaged ships, sent a message to Earth. Their stone-skinned commander appeared on screens across human space. We do not understand you, the commander said. You had the chance to rule us all and you threw it away. Why? Captain Yuna, now serving as the primary liaison with the League, responded. Because ruling you was never the goal. Living with you was. We don't want subjects. We want neighbors. This is unprecedented, the commander replied. Species with power always use it. Then maybe it's time for something unprecedented, Yuna said gently. Will you give us a chance? The commander was silent for a long moment. Then slowly it nodded. We will try, but we will be watching. If you fail, if you become what your ancestors were, we will resist, even if it costs us everything. Fair enough, Yuna agreed. We would expect nothing less. At the Galactic Assembly, the vote on the new covenant began. Diplomat Gion stood at the central platform, presenting the final terms. Humanity would serve as guardians, using their access to precursor technology to maintain peace and assist development, but they would be bound by strict rules. Any use of force required assembly approval. Any major decision needed consultation with a council of species. Humanity would have power, but that power would be checked and balanced by everyone else. This is not a perfect solution, Gion admitted to the assembled species. Nothing is. But it's better than war. It's better than domination. It's better than the past. We're offering partnership, with all the compromises and difficulties that requires. Will you accept? The vote took hours. Species debated, argued, consulted with their homeworlds. In the end, the result was closer than anyone expected. 53% approved the new covenant. 47% voted against, though they agreed to abide by the majority decision. It's not overwhelming support, Velmoth observed to Minho afterward. It's enough, Minho replied. We don't need everyone to love us. We just need them to give us a chance to prove ourselves. The transformation of the galaxy took years. The precursor systems, now controlled by human guardians working with assembly advisors, began the massive work of creating a true peacekeeping network. Ancient facilities were converted to research stations where all species could study together. Weapon platforms became early warning systems that detected conflicts before they escalated. But the real change was slower, deeper, and more fundamental. Scientist Kyung, working with researchers from dozens of species, made breakthrough after breakthrough as they unlocked precursor knowledge safely. Medical technology that could cure diseases across genetic lines. Environmental systems that could restore dead worlds. Manufacturing methods that provided abundance without exploitation. Engineer Isel led teams that built new infrastructure connecting the galaxy. Not just for trade or communication, but for education, for shared culture, for understanding. Young people from Earth studied on alien worlds. Alien students came to human colonies. Knowledge flowed in all directions. General Wu Jin, now retired, watched as a new generation grew up knowing the galaxy not as a threat but as a home. His granddaughter trained at a military academy where half the instructors were alien. Her best friend was a young Velkrin who dreamed of joining the Guardian service. They represented a future the precursors could never have imagined. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Colonel Nari asked him one day years later, as they watched a training exercise where humans and aliens worked together seamlessly. "I think we made the only choice we could live with," Wu Jin replied. "Power would have been easier. But this is better." 50 years after first contact, Captain Yuna, now an old woman, stood at the rebuilt Sol Orbital Station. It had been expanded, transformed into a hub where representatives from hundreds of species worked together. She watched her grandchildren play in the station's gardens with children from species the precursors had created long ago. They laughed together, argued over games, made friends without caring about the shapes of their bodies or the color of their skin. This was the legacy humanity had chosen. Not conquest, not power, but connection. Dr. Hana, now leading the Precursor Studies Institute, appeared beside Yuna at the observation window. Her hair was white, her hands shook slightly, but her eyes were still sharp. "We found another archive yesterday," Hana said, "on a dead world in the Outer Rim." "What did it contain?" Yuna asked. "A message from Kalen, the architect who made the recording on Sanctum Prime. He left messages all over the galaxy, hoping we would find them." Hana pulled out a small device and played a holographic recording. Kalen's face appeared, looking older and more tired than in the Sanctum Prime message. "If you are seeing this," Kalen said, "then you have made your choice. Whichever path you chose, I hope it brought you peace. But I hope that you chose guardianship. It is the hardest path, but it is the only one that leads to redemption." He paused, his expression becoming almost hopeful. "We were the ultimate force in the galaxy, but we were also the ultimate failure. We had all the power in the universe and no wisdom to guide it. You, our children, have the chance to be something we never were. Not the strongest, not the smartest, not the most powerful, but the kindest, the most patient, the most understanding. That is the true ultimate force," Kalen continued. "Not strength of arms, but strength of character. Not the ability to destroy, but the choice to build. Not conquest, but connection. If you have achieved this, then we did not fail completely. Then our sacrifice meant something. Then the galaxy has hope." The hologram faded.